Welcome to the Happiness Matters podcast, where we'll explore happiness at work and show you how to coach yourself to be happier there and more successful too, no matter what.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Happiness Matters, home of coaching your happiness and success. I'm Julia Seal, your host and your coach, and each week we look at ways to coach ourselves, how to leverage our brains and our emotions to live our best lives and contribute our uniqueness to the world. First of all, I want to welcome all our new listeners. We've had quite an increase in listeners recently, and so welcome to you all on our happiness coaching journey together. Remember to also sign up for my email for weekly coaching, or join me on Facebook or LinkedIn for daily ideas for your self-coaching. On all platforms you'll find us at Happiness-Matters.coach. This week, this episode is a little bit longer than usual, as I've got suggestions for first-time listeners and for those of you who've been coaching with me already. This week is a special edition I've recorded to support us all as the COVID-19 pandemic ramps up. The media is full of what's happening around the world. We've got some of the world's biggest democracies in various stages of lockdown. Images coming out of Europe looks like war. Empty streets, cruising police cars, drones tracking down people, and the United States, Canada, and Australia are shutting down. And what we're hearing is the new 2020 mantra: flatten the curve, save our health services from overwhelm, social distancing, and self-isolation. And it's happening just the same here in South Africa. Our borders have already closed, our hotels are being turned into quarantine sites, our restaurants are quiet, the shelves in our shops are emptying, and rumors are flying about magic cures. Opportunists are entering people's homes to test them and robbing them instead, or pretending to be from the Reserve Bank taking infected cash off the market. So for us, the nastiness and beauty of the pandemic is just beginning. As South Africa's Health Minister, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, says, the panic and discrimination against those who have the virus is far more dangerous than the virus itself. And the only advantage here in Africa at the moment is that we're still behind the curve, behind the pandemic spread in China and Europe, so we can learn from what's going on in the rest of the world and act early. But only by a few days, no more, it's spreading. Currently, South Africa has well over 200 cases now, and no deaths yet. But this is going to fast change. We are, as the BBC says, acutely vulnerable. And of course, in my own life, we're affected. As you know, my darling mum is 88 and has been very frail and unwell since October. Her frail care is now closed to all visitors, so I don't get to see her anymore. All my business travel has been cancelled. My sister tested negative yesterday. 4 of Fraser's family members in the UK are sick and in isolation. In earlier episodes, I introduced you to March as Happiness Month, as well as the 20th of March, the United Nations International Day of Happiness. And I spoke about some of the big happenings around this annually, the World Happiness Summit and the World Happiness Fest in Spain. So obviously, these special events were all cancelled at the very last minute. But the 20th of March wasn't cancelled. And I hope you remembered it on Friday and did your little bit in the world to take one of the 10 steps to advance the happiness, well-being and freedom of all life on earth. As the UN says, happiness for all, forever. So this week, we're going to step out of our exploration into the science of your happiness to address the COVID-19 pandemic. It's the perfect opportunity for us to practice everything that we've been learning about how to coach ourselves so far on Happiness Matters. Okay, so overall, this Happiness Matters podcast is all about how to be happy and successful at work, through and beyond menopause and in the world. How could we not talk about COVID-19 in light of what we're discovering about coaching ourselves and working with our thoughts and emotions? And today I want to look at COVID in 2 ways. The opportunity for us to step up and be of service in the world right now, and how to actually coach ourselves through our own fear, worry, and anxiety. One of the key things about this time is obviously managing our health and caring for those who will get sick. But for most of us, it's about shoring up our economies to keep on showing up in the world, to keep working, being productive, and being creative. We don't want the global stock markets to fall even more, to crash. We don't want global production to shut down. And as nice as it sounds at the start of the pandemic, we don't want to spend the rest of our lives sitting at home, isolated, not going out, doing nothing, watching Netflix all day and endlessly scrolling through social media. There is no better time to do this coaching together. We've got to move from passively listening to podcasts and me talking, for example, to actually applying what we've learned in the world, practicing coaching tools, trying on new ideas in your life, and exploring what works and doesn't work for you. So today I'll go through my current thinking on how we can step forward this week. I'll remind you of some of my free coaching tools that I think will be useful to you through the pandemic and the episodes you might like to listen to again. And then I'll talk about the free coaching that I'm offering every week over this next period to help you step up to the COVID challenge, whether it's for your own anxiety for yourself and your loved ones, or it's your own spiraling in social media, or it's how to lead your team and your family through this time. Let's start today with the opportunity that lies before us with COVID-19. All the anxiety, the social media binge watching, the self-isolation, and the social distancing. And why do I even call it an opportunity? Because people are dying. Currently over 12,000 worldwide already. When you think of the 1918 Spanish influenza killing 40 million, or the Black Death in the 1300s killing 200 million, our minds can go out of control wild when we think how COVID-19 could really explode in a world that is way more connected. And think about this, malaria killed 400,000 just last year. And also last year, the ordinary flu killed 500,000. HIV has killed 35 million to date, and Ebola, which for me is one of the most terrifying diseases, has killed 11,000 so far. Global pandemics are a frightening reality of our lives today. Chaos and uncertainty and change are today's normal, and we can absolutely spiral. And many of us are spiraling right now, and this is the opportunity for us. The opportunity for us is to learn how to, or to increase our ability to manage our minds, to feel better, more deeply and more into our humanity, to use emotions on purpose to fuel our actions. And why? Why do this? By managing our minds and thinking the right thoughts and creating the right emotions to fuel the right actions, we can act for the world. We can respond to others with kindness, empathy, and resilience. And let's be honest, what on earth is the point of learning how to be happy and successful if it's only sustainable in good times? Okay, so let's approach the opportunity in two ways. The first is if you're spiraling, if your thoughts and emotions are leading you to feel powerless and out of control, and if you're feeling heightened anxiety and an inability to put social media down and to talk about nothing but the pandemic. And the second is if you've got a reasonable grip on your thoughts and emotions around the pandemic, but want to explore what I mean when I say this is an opportunity for us to go further. Let's start with spiraling thoughts and emotions, and let's have a look at what's happening to you now, or your loved ones and your colleagues, even what's happening with those who are panic buying. Let's take one example and put it through our coaching perspective. So, we've got a pandemic of COVID-19. This is a fact, a circumstance of our lives. This is current reality. Then each one of us has a variety of thoughts about this fact. We have a stream of thoughts about COVID-19, what I like to call inner traffic. So if you're struggling right now, you might be thinking, well, I don't know what's happening. I don't know how to keep my family safe. I don't know what's going to happen to my savings. I don't know if I'll have a job when the dust clears. I don't know what to do. Or even, I must go and stock up the house because there'll be shortages and I might get really sick. These thoughts of ours create emotions and feelings. So if you were thinking any of these thoughts, such as, I don't know how to keep my family safe, this might create the feeling of anxiety or fear or panic or desperation. And this emotion is going to feel a certain way in your body. So anxiety might feel like no breath and a racing heart. And fear might feel like no blood in your veins, no energy, no life. This emotion and this uncomfortable sensation in your body is going to drive the very next action that you take. So, for example, if you're fueled with anxiety and feeling out of breath, you might jump in your car and go to the store and buy a whole trolley load of things, spending way more than your budget. You might snap at your team as they're not turning a task around fast enough. You might switch on Facebook in the hope for some relief of connection. Or if you're in deep fear, you might turn off this podcast right now, start flicking from one news channel to another, and you might just go to bed feeling sick and awful. This whole think, feel, act pattern will create results for you, will affect how you're showing up in the world, and will give you the results that you get in your life. You might give yourself a full panic attack. You might damage relationships with your team or your family. You might end up with enough toilet paper for 2 years while your neighbor has none. So this is one think, feel, act pattern, only one related to the circumstance of COVID-19. But remember, you have hundreds of thoughts running through your brain, even as I talk, each one of them creating a feeling and the related sensation in your body. Each one is motivating the actions that you take or don't take, and each one of your thoughts is giving you the results that you are getting in your life today, tomorrow, and your future. So if you are spiraling in unhelpful thoughts, thoughts that are creating uncomfortable, negative emotions and feelings, thoughts that are driving actions that you'd prefer not to be doing, the very first thing we need to do is to stop the spiraling thoughts. If this is the very first time you've ever tried thought work, you're going to think I'm mad. It's absolutely not possible. I can hear you thinking right now. But let's look at what this means and how we can do this even now. This is the first step in brain management. We want to calm down our brains so that we can work with our thoughts and ultimately the think, feel, act patterns that are running our lives, changing these on purpose to get the results that we do want. While you're listening to me talk, I want you to just start breathing in and out very deeply and as slowly as you can. So you're listening to me and you're noticing how you're breathing. In and out. So in for 3 counts and out for 3 counts. Can you do this now while we're here together? In and out. And as you do this more, can you add a tiny pause at the top of the in and then at the bottom of the out? So keep on doing this as I'm talking. And let's remind ourselves about how our brain works. Very simply. We are gifted with an amazing tool, our brain. Did you know that our brains operate way faster than the world's fastest supercomputers, the IBM Sequoia and Japan's K computers, completing more than 1,000 processes per second? And it's also said that our brain's neurons move information at incredible speeds, like at 400 kilometers an hour, and that there are more than 100,000 chemical reactions going on every second. And how's this? According to the Laboratory of Neuroimaging at the University of Southern California, the average brain generates 48.6 thoughts per minute. This adds up to a total of 70,000 thoughts per day. The National Science Foundation, in a 2005 article, put this between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts per day. And apparently, 80% of these are negative thoughts, and 95% of them are exactly the same repetitive thoughts as the day before. Just as fascinating, our brains have a pattern of connectivity as unique as our fingerprints. For our purposes here, I want to remind you about two features of our brain. That we have a primal brain, our primitive brain, and we have a human brain, the prefrontal cortex. Remember, I'm keeping this exploration simple until we get to our Series 2 on brain management. So our primal brain, our primitive brain, is that part of our brain that is concerned with the basics of our lives, our survival. It's our brain that is developed to act incredibly fast in service of keeping us safe. So at our most basic level, our survival is the most important thing. And what's working at our primal brain level is something called the motivational triad. I will go into much more detail about this in Series 2, but basically it describes how our primitive brain operates, what motivates it. So it's a triad, it's three things: pain, pleasure, and ease. These are the three things that motivate our primitive brain: to avoid pain, to seek pleasure, and to look for the easiest route to do this. This is how we have evolved as humans. This is how our brains have evolved and ensured our survival. Now, another feature of our evolution and our survival is that our brain is always, above anything else, looking for danger, pain to avoid, threats to our survival, anything that startles it. So what might startle our primal brain? A loud noise, an object moving towards us at speed, anything fearful. Just think of us as cavemen with lions and snakes around us. Every time we stepped out of the cave, our survival was at risk. It will react at lightning speed to anything that startles it, that it sees as threatening our very survival, and it reacts with fight, flight, or freeze. This is a fantastic mechanism of our brains. But this is where it all gets mixed up. By the way, are you still breathing deeply while I've been talking? In and out. Now, our prefrontal cortex is our human thinking brain. This is the part of our brain responsible for thought, self-control, planning, logic, and abstract thought. So not survival instinct, but thoughts. All of our thoughts, even the ones that might seem to be automatic, as they are out of our current awareness. And here's the key: our primitive brain cannot tell the difference between a thought and between an external circumstance. So the motivational triad of the primitive brain and the automatic startle response can be driven by our thoughts just as much as real threats outside in the world, like snakes and lions. So if we're thinking thoughts, and these thoughts are creating feelings of fear and anxiety and panic, the primitive brain reads this as dangerous and threatening to our survival. It anticipates there's going to be more pain, more discomfort, less pleasure, and it's going to be hard and difficult and unpleasant or dangerous. And it takes over with its lightning fast survival reactions. And this is what's happening for those of us who are scared right now, who are panic buying, who can't sleep, who are overwhelmed with anxiety, who cannot put our mobiles and social media down, who can't focus on our loved ones in the moment. Our brains are working so well for us. They are doing exactly what they're meant to do. Let's go through this again very quickly. Our brains are detecting potential threats through our thoughts. Thoughts like, I don't know when the shops are going to fill up again. I'm not going to be able to feed my family, and I'm not going to be able to get food for myself. The economy cannot survive this. These thoughts of ours, whether we are aware of them or if they are below the surface of our awareness, are waking up our survival brain, and it's doing exactly what it's meant to do. It's kicking in with survival actions. Rush to the shops, push someone out the way, watch more news, get more info. And yes, if we were definitely under real threat, in this very second, right now in this moment, this would be perfect. But we're not actually in real danger right now, are we? We're not actually facing down a lion in this very second. No, because we're in our homes, we're listening to this podcast. Perhaps we had coffee this morning and we spoke to our sister on the phone, or we've got the TV playing on in the background. We're homeschooling our children. But our thoughts are terrible. This is awful. This means the end of the global economy. I'm not going to have a job. More and more and more and more spiraling. And now our primal brains are running the show. So with that going on, what's the solution? Well, you'd think, stop the thoughts that are causing all the problems. So yes, that would be perfect, wouldn't it? And okay, if I could tell you that there's a tap in your mind to switch them off, and I could just send you there, that would be most helpful, wouldn't it? Well, there is a kind of a tap, because you can learn the skill to work with your stream of thoughts and to choose which ones to think and which ones not to think and let go by. You can be the director of your inner traffic. It sounds incredible, doesn't it? Choosing which ones of our 60,000 daily thoughts to think and which ones not to think. The skill starts with immense awareness of the thoughts running through your head. Okay, so you've been deep breathing for a while now. Has this helped you focus on what I've been saying? Has it helped you bring down the breathlessness just a little? Has the breathing helped at your survival brain level? Is it calming down? Calming down enough so that you can be a little more aware of the stream of thoughts running through your head, negative thoughts and positive thoughts, or as I prefer to call them, helpful thoughts and unhelpful thoughts. So if you're experiencing wild thoughts and heightened anxiety, this is exactly what to do in coaching yourself. And I'll go through the steps again. First thing, if you're feeling awful, start calming your brain down, just like we've been doing with the breathing while I've been talking to you. Download my free coaching tool, 3 Long Strong Breaths, to help you learn this skill. And you can listen to the episode specifically about this tool, episode 1.19. Then you can join me on Facebook. I've just bought a new iPhone after 9 years. Great advert for Apple. And so I'll be doing lives on Facebook about these free coaching tools. So like our page on Facebook, Happiness-Matters.coach, and choose notifications on so you'll know when I'm live. Then when you're ready, also listen in the same episode about how to start noticing all the thoughts running in our brains, as I talk more there about journaling and doing thought downloads. So this is all you need to do to control your anxiety and panic right now in the moment. That's the start, and that's enough. Putting this into practice whenever you notice you're spiraling and feeling too anxious and scared or panicky, this is the beginning of your most powerful self-coaching, and I believe the secret to your true happiness and success. If I may, I'd like to suggest something. As your coach concerned with how you are calming down and managing your survival brain, I really suggest limiting your time watching the news and scrolling through your social media feeds. Please, if there is anything that will wake up your fears, anxieties, and panic over and over again, it will be all the thoughts you create as you're watching the news and social media. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying COVID-19 is the time to limit, not increase, your exposure to the news and to social media. So difficult if you're at home, self-isolating and working from home, I know. News and social media look helpful. They seem useful, but if you're not managing your brain carefully while you watch it, if you're not aware of all the thoughts you're thinking as you watch, you'll be thinking the kind of thoughts that create your anxiety, fear, and panic. And this will startle your survival brain and wake it up into automatic survival reaction mode. My suggestion is to actually pick 2 or 3 times a day to check in. Give yourself a time limit, 15 minutes perhaps, and then switch it all off until check-in time next. And please, choose your sources of information carefully. Watch reliable news sources for updates. Don't increase the spiral for everyone else by sharing misinformation, by spreading panic memes and false facts. Don't add to someone else's spiraling brain by commenting unkindly, and don't add to the upwelling of social stigmatizing of Chinese people or Italians or foreign travelers and so on. Okay, doing this, if you've never limited your urge to watch or your urge to feed the fear at this time, this is going to be harder than ever, I know. But this is the perfect time to use these self-coaching tools to really serve you and those around you. A great rule of thumb that you might like to consider is something that I'm doing for myself and for my own mental health over this period, is that for every hour you spend on social media and news, you need to spend an hour doing something in your real, on-the-ground life. So an hour's walk with the dogs, or an hour making supper with your family, or doing a puzzle together, or listening to a positive podcast, or practicing your thought downloads. As the Buddha said, if you don't know what to do, and if you think you can't do anything about something bigger than you, first do no harm, ahimsa. And this includes to yourself. Very first, do no harm. Practice self-kindness and watch what you're doing to your brain by overindulging in the news and social media. How's your breathing now? Why not keep going, breathing in and out slowly for the rest of this time with me? Now, if you have calmed your survival brain down a little, the next thing you can do is to start practicing the skill of allowing your feelings. Feeling better. The actual action of feeling. This is a wonderful self-coaching skill that you can practice over and over again through these weeks with COVID-19. There are so many opportunities to do it, and this is a core skill in your self-coaching toolkit. As I said, there really is no better time. Okay, now we know that our feelings are caused by our thoughts. So your anxiety is caused by your thoughts. And so what we could do is just overlay a more helpful thought. Overlay a positive thought on top of our negative, unhelpful thought, and so change how we're feeling. So that's one strategy. However, this isn't really the answer. It's a short-term solution that might get you into hot water in your life, like in times of crisis now, when overlaying positivity is actually just impossible. No, a much better way to go once you've started building awareness of your thought stream is to build your capacity to allow your feelings, to feel your feelings on purpose, including the most unpleasant ones, to practice processing your emotions. This capacity is an essential skill in your resilience. It strengthens a lack of fear for anything that comes your way in the future, for any kind of discomfort you might face. If you can feel whatever emotion is running through you right now, if you can allow it all the way through your body, you gain authority over your emotional life. You take back the power over your emotions from some unseen outside source back to you as the creator of everything you experience at an emotional level, everything you feel every day. So with this control and power, the skill of feeling anything while keeping your survival brain calm, you'll be able to face anything in your life, anything ever. This is the skill of coaching your negative emotions. So we have a 17-part series on how to do this right here on Happiness Matters. So start with episode 1.17 and end at episode 1.32. Since you're at home with time on your hands, why not go through this mini coaching journey of mine, working with your negative feelings on purpose? And episode 1.26 is the episode that takes you through the step-by-step process of how to feel, how to practically build the skill of allowing your feelings on purpose. In the episodes before this one, I introduced supporting skills and tools, as well as happiness wisdom for us to consider. And in the episodes after this, we look at practical applications such as using menopause and toxic behaviors to work with our negative emotions. Also, to help you navigate these episodes, this mini coaching journey has an overview that you can download and work your way through. And I will link to this in our show notes on Happiness-Matters.coach. Now, if you've got a grip on your survival brain and you're allowing your emotions, then let's look at what you can do to go further using COVID-19 as the opportunity for your growth and the opportunity for your long-term happiness and success. What we're doing here is a perfect illustration of you actually using my coaching tool, High Road, Low Road, from episode 1.30 on our toxic emotions at work. Something has happened, an event outside in the world, and we are sitting at the choice point. Which road to take? The low road choice to react with fear, anxiety, and drama, or the choice to respond, to take the high road. And you are choosing on purpose how you want to respond to COVID-19. Now I've got a 3-pronged approach as our ways to respond. So just like Neptune or Poseidon's trident or Shiva's trishula, here's a 3-pronged response on purpose to the chaos, change, and uncertainty in our world. And Neptune, god of the sea for the ancient Romans, or Poseidon, god of the sea for the ancient Greeks, uses his trident to control the seas, to whip them up and to calm them at will. And the Hindu god Shiva uses his trishula to fight off negativity. So it's a great analogy for us, a memory hook for you to remember the 3 options available to coach yourself around the chaos of COVID-19. The first prong is you could ramp up your self-coaching practices every day. Many of us are working from home and have more time available, so why not take this opportunity to start implementing these practices as daily habits for your future? Commit to working with your thoughts and feelings every day, to coach yourself every day. Start by limiting your exposure to news and social media. Choose your times to watch and for how long, and practice sticking to that. You'll be practicing urge work, not giving in to the urges of your primitive brain, but choosing to go with what your prefrontal cortex has chosen. So you're learning how to allow urges to pass through you. This is such a great time to practice working with our buffering urges. Then, meditative breathings as much as you can and as often as you can through the day. 2 minutes is a great start if you've never done it before, and you can build it from there, adding a minute every few days and get up to 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Write down your thought streams at least once a day. Feel any emotion that you notice. Feel them fully, allowing them on purpose to move all the way through your body and release, including those pesky urgent urges to buffer with social media, Netflix, food, and alcohol. And then ask yourself over and over during the day, am I reacting or am I responding? So that's what we can start with. Then the second part in coaching yourself, the second prong in our trident, is to orientate your brain positively on purpose. And I suggest asking yourself a powerful question every day. Perhaps you ask it every morning as part of your thought work, or perhaps you have a note in your wallet and ask yourself every time that you use your credit card online. Just ask your brain a positive question every day, week on week. And here are some suggestions for now. How do I want to show up in the world today? What's possible today? How can I help? Asking these positive questions will put your brain to work in a creative and productive way. You will come up with some great answers every day, and possibly even some bad ones, but things that will contribute to the people around you and to your country and our global community. No matter what you choose to do, even if it's living into the popular British war saying from 1939, keep calm and carry on, puzzling with your children or making supper with your husband nightly, talking to your colleagues over Zoom every morning, keeping a gratitude journal, thanking healthcare workers, helping others reduce their own anxiety. These small acts of kindness to ourselves and each other are essential in times like this. Then the last prong in your trident is to really take this opportunity to deepen your self-coaching. I encourage you to dig down into some of these deeper topics, things that can have a lasting impact on your happiness and success. And I've got some ideas here and previous podcast episodes that you can listen to. You could decide to look at your life as a whole, or at an issue that you've got that's been getting in the way of your happiness and success so far in your life. If you're in midlife or going through menopause, this is a great time to stop and reevaluate. You can pretty much kick off your own change process. You can take the next step in your own evolution. Listen to episodes 1.1 to 1.6 with their related Q&As, which is the core coaching of Series 1, Defining, Assessing, and Visioning. And this will help you identify and outline a coaching journey that you might be ready to take over the next few months while we learn to live with COVID-19 and its global impact. You might have a relationship you want to improve, a promotion you want to go after, a job change, and a new habit to start. So using these sessions and the related coaching tools will help you to define what you want, deepen your definition of happiness and success, assess where you are right now and how far you've come and the future vision of where you're headed. Then, if you're feeling particularly philosophical, you might want to think more on our happiness wisdom concept of life as 50-50. Now, I've done an entire episode just on this topic, episode 1.22. And here we explore what 50-50 means, as it's definitely one of our more uncomfortable wisdom concepts, especially now through COVID-19. One that most of us, to be honest, actually wish wasn't true. It's the idea that life is 50-50, 50% good, 50% bad. Life is half good, half bad, half negative, half positive, half happy, half unhappy. And this 50-50 ratio is normal. It's the way of the world. It's reality, the yin-yang of life. The play between positive and negative, between good things and bad things, including the balance of your emotions, 50% negative emotions and 50% positive every day of your life. And we fight this reality. We resist the truth of 50-50. All of us do. Remember that our very survival as a species depended on us moving away from pain, the negative, and moving towards pleasure, the positive. So it really is wired into our brains for us to dislike the negative, to reject it, and to not want it. 50-50 might be a new way of looking at life for you, and it might not sit well with you right now through COVID-19. This is a perfect time for you to be thinking through this and choosing your stance, how it affects your emotional balance, and how it will influence the way you show up in the world. So explore what this means in the time of the COVID-19 pandemic. We are experiencing increased sickness around us. We're watching the death toll rise every day. We are seeing more panic and survival behaviors around us. We are seeing greedy, fearful, unkind behaviors, the ugly side of humanity. And we are also seeing wonderful things, altruistic behavior, random acts of kindness, people going above and beyond. We are seeing kindness, generosity, compassion, resilience, and love. So what does life as 50-50 mean to you now, your ongoing happiness and success? And what does it mean to you making a contribution in the world? What could you learn about kindness and grace over this time? So the episode to listen to is 122, and then you could listen to episodes 1.4, 1.6, and 1.23, where I talk more about yin-yang as reality. If you have time on your hands, have a look at the panda enclosure at Copenhagen Zoo online. It's built in the yin-yang shape. Such a special place for two very special creatures. Next, you could consider the idea of your ongoing evolution and what your life could look like in 10 to 20 years' time, what you'll be doing in future, but more than just a bucket list, who you will be, possibly even what will you have created, what contribution will you have made in the world. Start with the coaching and tools in episode 1.25, your next level evolution, and the episodes on creating your future vision, episodes 1.3 to 1.6 and their Q&As. And the coaching tool, your future self journey and letter to your future self are great for this work. Then there are a couple of other episodes that I'll link to in the show notes. These can help look at this topic from different angles, and there's about 14 that I think you'll enjoy. So lots of great listening and coaching for you. And then last of all, for a little bit of fun and lightheartedness, you can practice the Wuhan handshake. You can spread smiles and you can laugh on purpose. You can think about emoji communications, International Hug Day, social distancing, International Day of Happiness, Pay It Forward Day, and Fun at Work Day. And if you listen to any of these episodes, it might get you thinking up some refreshing ideas on how you want to show up through COVID-19 for yourself, your family and team, and our world. How you want to show up as someone with a well-managed brain making a real contribution in the world. As a reminder, you'll find all the past episodes, show notes, and coaching tools on our website, Happiness-Matters.coach. I've also created another download for you this week with all the suggestions from this episode, which episodes to listen to and which tools to download. And of course, if you subscribe to the podcast in your podcast player, it will be very easy for you to go back and listen to all of those past episodes. Fraser has written step-by-step instructions on how to subscribe to the podcast from any device, and those instructions are also on our website. Now, if you want to coach with me, here's how you can. I am offering free coaching if you are really struggling with anxiety and fear over this COVID-19 time. These are 30-minute sessions, coaching sessions. So individual coaching with me to help you calm your brain and get you started on your coaching journey. You can book these free sessions by visiting our website, Happiness-Matters.coach, and clicking on the yellow button, Coach with Julia. Then, if you want to coach with me for longer, you can book an initial insight session where we can explore what's going on for you now and how I can help you. So do you want help with your relationships at work or at home, or perhaps you want to overhaul your whole life using midlife as your greatest opportunity to reassess and redirect your life? Because now's the time if you're sitting at home self-isolating. Making the most of what's happening to you now involves starting, extending, and deepening your ability to coach yourself through any event and circumstance that's outside of you in the world and out of your control. And we do this why? So that we are resilient in times of change, so that we can be contributors to the greater good. We become creators rather than consumers in times of uncertainty. We're able to be happy and successful no matter what, making the absolute most of our lives for the benefit of all. The world needs people who coach themselves beyond their fears and towards kindness and contribution every day. You can't see me now, but here's a Wuhan handshake, or foot tap rather, and an elbow pump for you all. Thank you for listening today. It's been a long one. Thank you for showing up for yourselves and for the world. Next week, we'll see where we are with COVID-19 and if we need to spend more time on how we can coach ourselves. Also, look out for me on Facebook Live. Currently, I'm planning to return to our exploration of the scientific models of happiness, but with a focus on the specific happiness ingredients that will help us through this time. And we'll be at San Francisco's University of Berkeley Greater Good Science Center. So from me, my wish for you today, for us all, is may you be safe and protected. May you be healthy and strong. May you be truly happy, and may we be free. There is no better time to do this coaching together. Bye for now. Take good care of yourselves. We are a global family coaching COVID-19 together.
Thanks for joining us on this Happiness Matters podcast. Do join us again here next week on Tuesday. You can subscribe to this series at Apple Podcasts on iTunes, or you can sign up for it on our website, Happiness-Matters.coach. That's Happiness-Matters.coach. COACH. Also, you can join our conversation on Facebook by following us there. Our Facebook page is also Happiness-Matters.coach.